Alrighty, on to mission 4 for both of them. Breakneck for Lightfall, the Communion for witchqueen. We're going to start off with the Lightfall mission again. At the beginning of this level, I don't like how there's a lot of Cyclopses. I think it's a bit overkill. Honestly, it kind of ruins the intro, like, a bit. Not too much, but I just think the Cyclopses are a bit overkill. But I do, like, in general of the mission, I think this is, like, the definition of mediocrity for this mission. There's, like, one really good highlight for this mission, and we'll get to that soon. But this entire mission has a problem, and a few missions later down in Lightfall have this problem too, where Strand is given to you and then immediately taken away from you, and it's kind of like this on and off cycle of Strand, and it feels really, really bad. It doesn't feel like it just doesn't feel that good, honestly, when I'm like, oh, I can do this jump puzzle with Strand, and the jumping puzzle is like maybe like at most 2 seconds long, and then the Strand gets immediately taken from me. It just doesn't feel that great, honestly. And this is where that kind of happens a lot. Like, this is like the first mission where like you can actually see Strand just being like ripped over from you. It's like, oh, here's Strand, nope. Here's Strand, nope. Here's Strand, nope. And it just keeps doing that. But later into the mission, you fight a Hydra boss, and you kind of start off in a room, and you kind of like, as you dwindle the boss's health, you switch rooms, and you keep going forward until like the final room. It's an alright fight. Nothing really going on too much. Like, there's no really anything great about it, but there's also not really anything bad about it. So again, like, this mission is just mediocrity. There's nothing this mission is doing special, but I also don't think it's a bad mission. But to give this mission a bit of praise, near the end of the mission, there's this final room, I think it's the final room, where you fight a bunch of Cabal and 2 Tormentors. And it's a really small room, and I think this actually works really well. Usually, at least in the first mission, the Tormentor fight was alright, because it was a small room. In the third mission, it was actually really good, because it was a big room, but there was 1 Tormentor. However, for the exception of this mission, this is where the smaller room actually benefits from this, because it actually makes the fight a lot more intense, and the stakes are pretty high. Like, because there's 2 of these guys running around. So now you have to really decide, do you want to focus one, or just focus the one closest to you? Because if you break both their shoulders, they're going to start sprinting at you. So, like, the play you kind of want to do is break one of their shoulders and pretty much just focus one. Because if you focus both of them, you're going to have a hard time running around. I think Cabal gets sprinkled around in this small room, I should say, like, a bit when you kind of lower the Tormentor's health. But I think this is where this is actually, like, very fun. It's actually a lot of fun to run around and kind of deal with these guys. And I think it's probably, like, the highlight of the mission, honestly. It sucks at the end, but it's a really good ending to the mission. Now on to the Witch Queen mission, the Communion. Going into this, I was under the impression that this was probably one of the best missions from, like, just from memory. I was wrong. I was very disappointed, actually. I think I was just thinking of the final boss soundtrack, because I really like that. I think that's my favorite soundtrack from Witch Queen. But this mission kind of fell flat, honestly. But the intro to this mission is pretty wild. You have to kind of, like, storm this Cabal, like, outpost, and there's 2 Cabal tanks. God damn, these things do not miss. They don't joke around. These are, like, the toughest tanks. They have, like, the most insane aim. They can outplay you. I think I died a total of, like, 3 times. And these guys, I just got outplayed. Like, it was clearly just a skill issue at that point, because I was getting my ass handed to me by these guys. So already we're off to a great start with this mission, because it's not just the actual tanks that are a problem. It's pretty much everything around it too. You have snipers, you have, like, these big colossus, you have these Cabal, and they're all positioned in these really well placed spots. So you have to respect them, honestly. You can't just go out there. Like, I tried supering one time, I think, and I just supered. I'm using my hammer, and then because I was just focusing on the little guys, the Cabal, the tank had an opportunity just to snipe me out of the air and just one-shot me with his cannon. It just, like, it kind of, like, woke me up. I'm like, oh shit, I can't just W key at them, I have to actually play safe, play passive, and the mission really starts off as a good start. But unfortunately, this is where all the good things I have to say about this mission are. Aside from the final boss music, but that's so subjective, so I'm not gonna count that. Yeah, this mission is not actually that great, unfortunately. There's in between parts that are just kind of really boring. They kind of introduce like this the solar panel, I guess, or the what was it, the darkness suppressing technology, and it shows you have to disable those. Not the most interesting mechanic, if I'm being honest. It was kind of lackluster. And I think this really shows during the mid boss where you have to do damage to him and then he'll go immune and you have to disable one of these things. But every time you do it, it's always going to be the same one. It's not going to be rotating around the arena. It's always that same one. So it doesn't really even change up the mid boss fight. And it just kind of makes for the mid boss really, really boring. I was just kind of amazed of how highly I thought of this mission. And then when I replayed it, I was like, wow, this mission is not that great. Then after you do more killing of the Cabal in like that little between section, I think you just kill like a bunch of Cabal, you just go up this elevator, and then you're at the boss fight. The boss fight is it's pretty much the same actually of the mid boss fight, but instead of disabling one, you have to disable three. I know, pretty crazy. And honestly, the only highlight for me is the music. I really like the soundtrack, but like not everyone is going to like this. Not everyone is going to even pay attention to music. Some people even play with music off. So that is such a far-reaching compliment that only I can give. So I'm not going to give any points to that. Now, in terms of the actual boss himself, there's not really much that is going on with him. He's pretty much a big Colossus. He's got that hair apparent callus. He's rocking it. He's gonna beam you if you do get in line of sight. But the arena is kind of set up in this way where you play on the outside, and on the outside there's like so much cover that he barely has line of sight of you. Like he's not really gonna be beaming you anywhere. Honestly, at least where the panels are too, you're not gonna get beamed from him. So now it leads on to the ads trying to kill you, and the ads are not really that threatening. Some of them do kind of flank you and they kind of catch you off guard, but that is kind of rare that happens. So most of the time the ads are not even a threat, so it leads off with the mechanic, and the mechanic is not engaging because it's just disabling 3 panels. So yeah, this boss fight is actually, I think it's better than the mid boss, but slightly better. Just maybe because the actual arena is a bit more flexible for how you're playing. But uh, it's not that good, honestly. On to my final point of this mission. The different planet, because now you're on Europa for this mission, is actually a nice change of pace instead of just being on the throne world the entire time. I think it's actually pretty nice that you have a different place to look at instead of just, the throne world being just green. It's all green. Even though all the missions in Throne World are set in different locations, so there's already enough variety. I think it's also nice just to have that extra planet. I know it's even for one mission, but that one mission just being different is just such a huge plus. Even if the mission really sucked overall, having different environments is just nice. It's something that Lightfall also missed. I think all of Lightfall was just set on Neomuna, and after a while, Neomuna kind of got a bit boring to look at, and it kind of made it a bit stale, and you start to realize the cons when you're only looking at the planet. So just thought I'd point that out. So on to the kind of final verdicts or conclusion, whatever you want to call this section. The Lightfall mission, I'm going to put it in good. I think it kind of falls into the same category as the Ghosts, which was mission 3 for witchqueen, where the final tormentor section kind of really held up this mission, and I think it carried this mission along. Like, it's pretty much the same case as Ghost. The Hydra fight did nothing bad, so I think it's fine. And then it's the strand off and on and the Cyclops that kind of bring this mission a bit down. But the Cyclops are only at the beginning, and the Strand on and off happens. It actually only happens like 3 times, but it feels like a lot when you're playing the mission. But that's that. But now on to the Witch Queen mission, which was the Communion. This is going to go in bad. I think this is going to be the first Witch Queen mission that goes in bad. This mission, it kind of sucks because I remember I was like, oh, this mission's like one of the best Witch Queen missions ever. But when I replayed it, there's so much just boring stuff in this mission. There's not a lot going on aside from the setting and aside from the one music track that I really like. So, but in terms of like the boss fights, the mechanic itself, it's just a lot of boring, honestly, to go through. So I think it's just gonna go in the bad. That's all I got for this episode, though. I hope you guys stay tuned for the next episode, and just thanks for watching, honestly. I'll catch you guys next time. Have a good one.